Welcome back to the party, everyone. We are going to be covering Unit 2 of U.S. History Honors today, and the 4 essentials you need to know for the test. First off, this is the time period during the Second Industrial Revolution, and you need to know how inventions and new innovations in industry affected the social political landscape, and in turn, their effect on the economy. The Second Industrial Revolution brought about major social changes because of inventions like the telephone, indoor plumbing, and electricity. People could now speak to each other in real time over very long distances. This allowed the spread of information to go infinitely faster and led to the formation of a mass culture. Think of it like everyone is into the same socks and Crocs combo as you, instead of ridiculing you for the plebeian you are. Politics was also influenced by the changes in industry. Powerful men like John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon, and Andrew Carnegie, a captain of industry for steel, were often called robber barons by their critics. These men began to influence the politics of America. They controlled large parts of the economy and had a lot of lobbying power in the government. The government gave big contracts to these companies to build infrastructure like the Transcontinental Railroad, which connected the east and west coasts for the first time by rail. While these men were often accused of corruption, they never actually got put in jail, and they always found a way out of it. Kind of like your younger sibling who never gets punished, even when their parents caught them in the act of stealing your V-Bucks. Economically, America boomed. The number of millionaires skyrocketed, and overall wealth increase brought a much larger middle class. Things like assembly lines allowed factories to develop mass production techniques in order to keep up with a quickly urbanizing country. Many cities had to adapt new planning methods, like the grid system of New York City. So, you can thank a 19th century civil engineer for your traffic problems of today. In this new modern system, companies began to find ways to consolidate power and cut costs. Formations of trust joined companies together to dominate competition and drive up prices. These began to be cut down, though, by state and federal courts, including the Supreme Court, because they were becoming too close to a monopoly. Now, the board game you are thinking of has been inspired by this time period, but it's entirely irrelevant, so I'm not sure why you would bring it up. Monopolies are entities that have near 100% control over a market and completely destroy their competition. These eventually do get replaced, though, by holding companies, which are companies that hold enough stock to control a lesser company. The way these business empires came about was through the integration of smaller companies together to form a bigger one. When a company joined with another company on the same supply chain, it is referred to as vertical integration, like FedEx being bought out by Walmart. Now, when a company joins a company that is in competition for the same product, it is called horizontal integration. Think Walmart and Publix merging. Now, during this time, there was a large surge of new immigrants from Asia and Eastern and Southern Europe. Some important distinctions to make is the differences between Asian and European immigrants. Many immigrants on both sides came on steerage, or the worst accommodations on the boat, not entirely unlike the seat at the back of the plane next to the toilet with no legroom. First, you're going to need a little context. There were so many new immigrants, in particular from Asia, that Americans felt threatened by the sheer quantity of competition for jobs that the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed to begin limiting immigration into the country. To understand why these immigrants began to pour into the U.S., you need to understand the concept of push and pull migration factors. Push factors are reasons to leave your home, like you're 23, your mom has been begging you for the last 5 years, and it really stinks in the basement. Pull factors are reasons to go to a new home, like friends, roommates, being a successful person. Specifically, migrants are moving due to persecution in their home countries to go to America because the Industrial Revolution there was kicking off huge economic success. A large part of the immigration process was being filtered through a few checkpoints between the U.S. and everything else. Stations like Ellis and Angel Island checked thousands of people a day to make sure they were good to be admitted into the great states. Back to comparisons, though, Ellis Island took mostly European immigrants, and Angel Island took mostly Asian immigrants. Yes, that is convenient naming. All immigrants were required to Americanize or adjust their culture that they brought from their home to be more like that of typical Americans. However, Angel Island and many Asian immigrants unfortunately had a generally rougher time passing inspections than the typically higher class European immigrants, though there were also some European immigrants that had some significant struggles as well. Many Western immigrants were treated harshly once in the U.S. due to strict nativism, or a preference of one person over the other due to the status of birthplace. For all you simpletons out there, that means that they were often mistreated for not being born in the U.S. This was less harsh for many European immigrants in the East. Finally, as a side effect of all of this industrialization, many practices were put in place that most people disagreed with. Factories were designed with safety 99th in mind in order to maximize production speed. Small factories with very long hours and dangerous conditions were referred to as sweatshops due to the natural sweatiness of them. Some factories even had a company-sponsored town built around them. These creatively named company towns had shops and homes and utilities built and provided by the company, with a factory or a cluster of factories in the center of town that everyone worked at. An example of this is Lowell, Massachusetts, the first company town designed with that in mind from the start. People started getting riled up about these conditions, though, and some had the great idea to form a union of workers to collectively bargain for better wages and conditions. It was one of those times when they thought to themselves, surely they can't fire all of us. And the factory's owners realized that they could not, in fact, fire them all, so the workers got away with it. This all led up to the modern tactic of striking. The union would declare a general strike against a factory, and all the workers who were part of the union had to stop working or be removed from the union. So many workers would leave, and the factory would come to a halt. This was a huge bargaining tool used against factory owners, though they found methods to reduce the effect, such as bringing in people outside the union who would work under these bad conditions in order to resume production. The strike is still around today for a reason. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thanks of course for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video if you really enjoyed it.